Hey, everybody. Welcome. I hope you can see me and you can hear me. I am live. Hey, everybody. So, I just wanted to take a minute to thank you, ladies, for being here with me tonight. The program that I'm using, I'm able to share my screen, as you can see, for tonight's training. So, I'm kind of like a little person in the bottom corner for right now. But by doing so, I can't see if you guys comment and who's on here. So I'm just going to take a second, let everybody jump on here if you want to be on here live for tonight's training. Tonight, we're going over how to air down your tires. It's going to be a quick overview. We're going to talk about using the air down tool for tonight. And it's kind of the first in some live training in a series that I'm putting together for all of you ladies. So mark your calendars. For the next 2 Wednesdays. So next 2 Wednesdays in a row at 7 p.m., I'm going to jump on here live and do a training class with you. So tonight is the first night in the series, and it's going to be the how to air down your tires. And we're just going to go over this a little bit tonight. And then I'm going to share with you a link where you can actually go and watch the full video that shows you how to air down and teaches you at the end of this training for tonight. So if you do comment, I apologize. I'm not going to be able to see it till I get done with tonight's training, but then I'm going to jump in and comment back, answer any questions that you ladies might have. So I just want you to know up front, unfortunately, I can't see who's on here or see your comments, but thank you for joining me. And thank you for joining me on the ladyjeepers.com page. So tonight's training is all about airing down our tires. So it's going to be a quick overview with some tips and then just a quick training on using the air down tool. So again, I'm Kristen DeLibero, and I am here from ladyjeepers.com. And ladyjeepers.com is a full online educational training program for ladies only. So any four-wheel drive owning lady. I know it's Lady Jeepers, but you don't have to own a Jeep to be a part of this group. I mean, we are definitely more Jeep oriented, but this works for any of your vehicles. So I'm really excited to share this training with you tonight. So we're going to jump in and get started. So our first tip in our how to air down is before you air down your tires, you need to know how you will air them back up. So if you're at an event or a trail ride and you want to air your tires down, first thing before you air your tires down, know how you're going to air back up. So know if a lot of the parks that you go to that have events will have air tanks available on the property, a lot of times by the office. So you can just ask them if they have air available so that you know how you're going to air back up. Some people have onboard air. I have just looked into the up down air, so it'll deflate and inflate, and I'll share that with you down the road. But so if you have onboard air, you can air your tires back up. If they have it at the park, you can go ahead and air back up there. Or if you know you're going to have to drive to a gas station to air back up, like on your way home, know how far away the closest gas station is going to be for you, so you know how far you're going to drive on the pavement aired down, because that's also going to affect how much you're going to air your tires down. So if you know that you're only going to be driving like on the trails, on the ride, there's air there that's available, then you can comfortably air your tires down. So tip number 2, excuse me, know your rims and your tires. So this is going to make a difference, how much you're going to air down. So if you have beadlock rims, that is going to allow you to air down your tires to a lower PSI safely without as high a risk of the tire actually coming off of the rim. So if you have a beadlock, it is different than like your normal wheel. So know what type of rims or wheel that you do have so that you know if you have a beadlock or if you don't have a beadlock. So stock rims on the Jeeps are not beadlock. So that's something that is an upgrade or a modification that you would have to make, or if you bought a used Jeep, it could be on there. So know what kind of rims you have before you go to air down, so you know how low you can drop your PSI in your tires. So we're going to talk about for a regular rim. You know, I recommend, everyone is different. So, everyone's going to tell you something different. This is just my personal experience. If you have regular rims like a stock rim or a non-beadlock wheel or rim, you can air down to 20 to 25 PSI safely. Now, that being said, I know people that'll drop down to 15 or 16 PSI on a regular rim, a regular wheel. But I recommend if you have a regular rim or a regular wheel that, kind of drop your PSI, like drop your air pressure down to 20 to 25 PSI, and you're going to be safe running that tire pressure on a regular rim so that your risk of, again, the tire coming off the rim is not going to be as great. I know that's always a concern when we talk about airing down. And as long as you air down to a correct PSI with the kind of rim or wheel that you have, your risk is going to be minimal. You risk being able to blow a tire off of a rim, even if you have not aired down. So think about, as you're airing down, knowing what kind of rim you have and being conservative. So for a beadlock rim, you can air down to between 6 and 10 PSI safely and run that on your ride, on your trail ride at the event, and not have a high risk of, again, your tire coming off of your rim or blowing a bead. So tip number 3, make sure that your tool works or your kit is set. So if you have an air down tool, even if it is brand new, always check to make sure the slider works, all the pieces spin, everything works. Just because you buy something brand new does not mean that it is definitely going to work for you. So always know and check your tool to make sure it's going to work before you get to a ride or to an event, and you need to use it and it doesn't work. And then same thing if you have the kit. So if you have a plug kit, you're going to set your plugs to the desired PSI that you want to deflate to. Well, make sure that all of your plugs are set ahead of time before you get to the ride or the event and you need to use them. So you're always prepared. So tip number 4 is going to be take your time. So when you are airing down, try to allow enough time so that you have a window where you're not going to be rushed, you're not going to be flustered, that you can take your time to air down each tire to the desired PSI that you want. So, don't ever feel like, oh, there's people around, so I have to rush and hurry up and do it. You always want to take your time. And then tip number 5, once you are aired down, do not take corners at high speeds once you're aired down, because you have a higher risk of the tire coming off of the rim if you're at a higher speed when you're taking your corners. So once you are aired down, just be aware that you need to drive slower and definitely slower around corners. Tip number 6. So when you air back up, make sure that you have an air pressure gauge to check the air pressure level of each tire. So I know with the JKs and the JKUs, they have the tire pressure sensor in the tire that you can see on your dash. And I'm going to tell you from personal experience, those don't always correctly read right away. So you cannot rely on that when you are airing your tires back up. They're great to have, but don't rely on those because sometimes the sensors can be a little off. I have found that I've used, tire gauges, aired all 4 of my tires up, exact same PSI, and the reading on my dash, it's actually my front passenger tire always reads a little bit lower than what it really is when you put a tire pressure gauge on it. Other thing I learned the hard way is as you're airing up, it doesn't just change right away on the dash. So it's not like as you're putting air in, you're watching the numbers go up. Sometimes it actually takes you starting to drive a little bit and a little bit of time for the numbers to adjust. So don't rely on that tire pressure sensor gauge, what you have on your dash. Don't rely on that when you're airing back up. Always make sure you have a tire pressure gauge with you. And that's something you should always keep in your Jeep no matter what. So another tip for you is to keep your tools in your rig so that you always have them. So always keep your air down tool and a tire pressure gauge right there in your Jeep. So it's always there. That way, if you ever need it, you always have it, even if you're not planning on being somewhere where you might need it. So now air down for fun. So we're going to go over how to air down your tires with the air down tool. So this is the air down tool. There's different companies that make it. They're all pretty much the same as what I have found for your air down tool. So get to know your tool. That is the biggest thing that I can say. Once you get your tool, so like say you order it or you go buy it, get comfortable, playing with the plunger, playing with the valve, everything that moves and pushes and turns, and get comfortable with the feel of that. So pulling the plunger, pushing it in, twisting, feeling how that tool feels in your hand, how it works, how it moves, so that you're comfortable with it when you go to use it. So step one in airing down is you're going to remove your valve cap. So, what I like to do is I take them off and I put them on the top of my tire or in your pocket, but make sure you put it somewhere where you're not going to lose it because they're so small. It is so easy to drop one or forget where you put it or disappear. So always think about putting that somewhere safe so that you can reapply it when you're done. Step number 2 is going to be to attach the tool to the tire. So you want to make sure that you've pushed the plunger all the way in and you're going to hold it forward on the big, large release valve that's going to push forward and back. So you want to make sure it's pushed forward and you want to make sure that you have the plunger all the way in, and then also make sure that you line up the threads. So make sure that the tool is lined up with the actual thread so that as you go to twist it, it's going to twist on and it's going to screw on nice and snug. Step 3 is then you're going to tighten the plunger down. So you're going to remove the valve core in this step 3 by pushing the plunger piece in, and then you're going to twist it to the left until it won't twist anymore. And actually the large, long plunger will actually start to kind of push against your finger as you're twisting to the left. And then you're going to pull the plunger out to allow for the air to deflate through the valve stem. And then in step 4 is where you're actually going to release the air. So this is something I do slowly, especially as I was learning. I would push forward to release the air, and it's that large top piece, and it lets the air out. And I'd always keep an eye on my PSI gauge on the tool. Now, it does not read until you push the plunger back again. So you let air out, you stop, and then you can read where the air pressure is, what the PSI in the tire is. So don't just, push it forward, let all the air out, and wait, and then check it, because you might let too much air out. You might go below the PSI that you're desiring to get to. So I like to go slow, especially the first couple of times you're airing your tires down. Let some air out, check it, let some air out, check it, so that you're kind of going back and forth, keeping an eye on it, and going slow. So then you're going to stop the air release. So you're going to push the big piece of this tool. I'm using wonderful terms. Sorry, ladies. But to me, the big round piece knob, you're going to push forward to stop the air from coming out. So it's going to stop to deflating the tire, so that you check your PSI level. When you get to where the PSI is where you're going to want it, then you're done. So then you're going to replace the valve stem by, you're going to push the plunger. Since it's out, you're going to push the plunger all the way in, and you're going to keep that large air release. So the big round knob that's at the front pushed forward, and you're going to turn the plunger to the right while pushing it in, so that you've pushed it in. Now you're turning right until it stops turning to the right and it's pushed all the way in. Once you've done that, then you can take the tool off. So you unscrew the center piece to the left until it is off the valve stem and the tool is no longer attached. And then don't forget to put your valve cap back on your tire. And then you're going to repeat that same process for all of your tires. So just go slow and take your time. And then I want to share with you tonight, as soon as we jump off this training, I'm going to go ahead and share the link in the comments below this video. And one of them is going to be a link to the download booklet that I shared with you tonight that you can download, you can print out. And then I'm also going to give you the link to the Air Down full video training to watch. So it actually shows using the tool, how to use the tool, everything, all the process, everything right there for you. And it shows it being done so you can see it in action. So again, I just want to thank all you ladies for being here with me. I know it was a short training, but what I'm going to try to do is jump on here Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and do just a quick video training with all of you who want to jump on here with me. So put it on your calendar, and I would love to see you here again next week. I'm going to jump over so I can see some comments. All right, so now I can see the comments. Sorry, ladies. I wanted to make sure you got to see all the training and the slides. And I hope that, this helped you. I know for me, the biggest struggle that I had was the air down tool and airing my tires down. That was one of the hardest things for me to learn. I know it, for some people, it probably sounds funny that, that is such a small piece of everything there is in the off-road world, everything with your Jeep. Whatever it was, I don't know if it was the fear of making a mistake and like all of a sudden I had a flat tire, if it was getting flustered in front of people and feeling like, oh my gosh, everybody's watching me and I don't know what I'm doing and I can't make a mistake. But my nerves, when I first started trying to air down my own tire, my nerves were shot. Just being honest, that was a really hard piece for me to learn and to start doing on my own. So what I found is, and this is a great thing to do, I practiced on my spare tire at home. So there was nobody around. It was just me and it was my spare tire. So I knew if I had an issue, it wasn't quite as big of a deal. And I could practice airing down and I could run up to the gas station and put some air back in my spare tire and it was no big deal. So that's how I learned. I just spent lots of time doing it over and over and over. So I would put the tool on, let some air out of my spare tire, take the tool off. Put the tool on, let some air out of my spare tire, take the tool off. Because my biggest fear and anxiety came when it came to putting the tool on and then using it and then taking it off. I always had this fear I was going to take it off and then all of a sudden I was going to have a flat tire and be like, oh my gosh, I totally messed up. I didn't do a good job. So that's why I'm sharing this piece with you as our very first piece in this live training series, because it was the piece I personally struggled with the most, gave me the hardest time, the most anxiety. And I want to help you ladies so that you can be confident and you're not out there worrying like I was, nervous sweat, like, oh my gosh, people are watching me. I don't know what I'm doing. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope this helps you. I'm going to go ahead and look through the comments. Hi, Diane from Colorado. Hi, Amanda and Becca. And I'm probably going to say this wrong, but is it Yeri? And we have Cindy and Beth and Kelly and Amber. Hi, ladies. I'm so glad that you were able to jump on here with me tonight. I'm so excited. Let's see if there's any questions. Oh, Amanda, you are so welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed this training. I'm just here to try to help everybody. Let's see, are there indications and when I should air down, or should it be an auto thought when I head off-road? That is a great question, Amanda. So I'm going to go ahead and answer that question for you. Anytime you're going to go ahead and drive off-road on any trail, I recommend airing down. So I know some people are going to tell you like, oh, if it's just a dirt trail, you don't need to air down. You only need to do it on rocks. Everyone has their own opinions on everything. Here's why you want to air down your tire. And I should have shared this at the beginning. I apologize that I didn't. But the reason you're airing your tire down is a couple different reasons. So one, it's going to change the ride quality for you, which means the tires are going to have less air. So they're going to be able to bend and mold and move around the obstacles that you're driving over, so that you aren't going to take as much I call it a beating, but you are going to have a softer ride. So that's one reason that you want to do it. Second reason that you want to do it is if you're going to be off-roading on a trail, if you're going to be putting your tires in situations where there's rocks or even like roots to trees, anything like that, what this does is it's also going to lessen the chance that you're going to get a tear, a rip, a slash in the sidewall. That is because there's less air. So as your tire, like say, I don't know if you guys can see this. I'm trying to do it and I'm backwards on here. So say you have a rock and your tire is going to come against the rock and roll. I hope you can see this. When you have full air pressure, that tire's hard. And so when it hits, if the sidewall hits the obstacle, you have a greater chance that it's going to tear or it's going to rip or you're going to end up with a slash or a gash in the side of your tire. When you have less air pressure in there, as your tire hits this, it's going to move and give, and you're going to have a little bit more allowance there before it would puncture. And what that also does is it's going to allow you, again, to grip the actual obstacles in the terrain that you're going over. So instead of having a hard tire trying to go over a rock, it's going to actually start to meld and go around whatever it is to help you with some traction and the ride. And again, this is going to help you so that you're less likely to tear, slice, cut the sidewall. And here's another thing to think about. This is the third reason you're thinking about airing down. When you have the full air pressure in your tire, because it doesn't have that give as you're going over, like, let's say a rock or an obstacle, so it's hard. So then that means you're putting more force, more bind, and more concussion on the other parts of your vehicle. When you're aired down, because the tire is going to have more give and there's going to be more flexibility in the tire, you're putting less strain and bind on the other parts of your vehicle. So that's another reason that you're thinking about airing down. So I always recommend anytime you're going to go anywhere off-road, you always air down. I believe that it's crucial if you're going to be on rocks and a rocky terrain to go ahead and make sure that you air down for those reasons. But anytime you're going to go off-road, I always will say, make sure you air down. So we're starting with this next week. We're going to do Wednesday at 7:00. And we're actually going to jump into the winch. Next week is going to be covering winch safety tips, how to use your winch, and an overview for next week. So thank you, ladies, for being here. Thank you for all the positive feedback. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and put those links right underneath this video. As soon as we jump off here, I'll put it in the comments so you can jump over and get your download. So you have that booklet that has those directions printed out with pictures for you for airing down, and the link to the video. If you haven't seen it yet, it's the full air down video. Looking forward to more too. Oh, thank you, Amanda. I'm glad that made sense. Thank you, Diane and Wanda. You ladies are wonderful. And Dawn, I'm just so thankful you jumped on here with me tonight, and I really hope that helped you. And if you have run into any questions, just post in the comments. This will be up on the Facebook page, so you can refer back to it. If you run into any questions or any problems while you're actually airing down or as you start to do this more, please either comment below this video or always feel free to send us a private message off of our LadyJeepers.com Facebook page. We are always willing to jump over there and help you ladies answer any questions that you have. So please feel free to private message us as well. If you don't necessarily want to post a comment, maybe for everybody to see, please feel free. And I want to really push this while we're on here live. To me, LadyJeepers.com is a safe place to learn. As your learning questions come up, I have had so many questions come up that I'm sure a lot of people looked at me like, really? Are you really just asking that? I want you to know here on this group, in this group, you can ask any question. And there is no dumb question as we're learning. That's how we learn. No matter how simple it may seem, no matter how advanced it is, please always feel free to comment on this page. Always ask questions. And this is, there's no judgment and no critique, and everyone is here to help you and to support you and in a kind, safe environment. So please always feel free to jump in there and ask anything. And again, if you're not comfortable, please send us a private message. We're here to help you with any of those questions. So thank you again, ladies, for being on here. Oh, Daphne, I love that you're a sponge. I love that. Oh, Amanda, I'm so glad that you're on here with us, and I'm glad you're so excited, but don't be fearful. We're going to go ahead. We're kind of starting at the beginning, and we have a whole curriculum and plan that we are finishing up, so that we're going to take you ladies from the very first step all the way through and try to give you everything that we can along the way to answer all the questions, give you training, education, so that there's nothing to be fearful about. I will share this with you ladies here. I know this is one of my first lives. I've done a couple, but I know this is kind of opening myself up to be a little vulnerable and put myself out there to lots of new ladies. But I had a whole lot of fear as a passenger, and I'm not gonna lie. My biggest fear was rolling over and getting hurt. To the point that as I was in the passenger seat and we would be going to an obstacle, usually it was a hill with lots of ledges where we were going to get off camber. So there's going to be a lean to the Jeep. I would literally close my eyes and sit there and think of, okay, so if we roll and I get hurt and I can't work and I can't take care of my daughter, what is going to happen? Who's going to take care of everything if I'm laying in a hospital bed? Like, I would really get some extreme kind of fear that would come up for me. And it was always this fear of getting hurt. I, a long time ago, let go of fear of what other people thought. And that took a lot of work. It was really hard. But, I have to say that's probably the best thing I have ever done. So none of my fear ever came up of I'm not going to drive right, or I'm going to make a mistake, or I'm going to break something, or I'm going to get stuck and then I'm going to have to winch out, or somebody's going to have to winch me out, or all of those things. I just didn't worry about, because to me, those are not a valid fear. As we're talking about, being fearful, a valid fear to me is getting hurt. And that is something that my best advice is: start easy, start small, start slow, and gradually start to push yourself just a little bit more and a little bit more. And really getting to know your Jeep is going to make a huge difference as well. You're going to start to understand and feel your Jeep a little bit better. You're going to understand, when you get a little bit flexed, a little bit off camber, how your Jeep is going to react, how it performs in different situations. So it's seat time when it comes to driving. But I always suggest, like some of the parks that we go to, they rank their trails by color. So when you're starting out, just start with an easy trail. Stay there. Try, driving all the easy trails. Get comfortable. Be confident in yourself, confident in your vehicle. And the only way you can get there is by putting that seat time in and driving. And once you get really comfortable and confident, then jump up to like the intermediate trail and work your way there. Go through all the trails, and then start to play a little bit more. Like, maybe pick the bigger rock where you're going to get off camber, understand how you feel, how your Jeep responds. Again, just putting in the time. Brandy, when it's wet, no brakes. Oh yeah, that's not a good thing either. But so that's where just putting in the seat time of understanding your Jeep and your rig and how it responds in different conditions and different situations. I don't know if you have a automatic or a manual. And I know the newer JKUs. Like I have a 2017, my 2017 JKU, I call it a slap shift. So I'm sure there is a technical term for it, but I'm gonna call it a slap shift, where you can take it out of drive and push it to the side, and then you're able to actually manually shift like 1, 2, 3. That helps a lot so that you can control the RPMs, you can control the speed of the Jeep, just like you would in a manual, but with no clutch. So there are times that being able to downshift, if you have that, I'm not super sure if the older Jeeps have that. And that's now something I don't know that I'm going to have to look into, and I will find out. But that can help a lot so that, you start to get comfortable really being in control and you making the choices for you and your Jeep. Do you think you will have some videos in accessing and when to use four-wheel high versus low? We do. So I don't want to get too far ahead because, like I said, I always want to start at the very beginning. We're going to work all the way through, ladies. But yes, we have actually already done a bunch of videos and training, and they're going to start coming out and be available. And there is a video that goes over when to use four-wheel drive, when to use four-wheel low, when to use four-wheel high, how to disconnect and reconnect the sway bars, as well as going over lockers, like when to use your locker, when not to use your locker. Oh, don't be sorry, Amanda. I'm glad you're excited. But yes, we have so much that we have already put together as far as training. And I'll tell you, when I say we're going to start and go through every piece, I did a video training that is going to be coming out that actually is just understanding your Jeep. So we use my 2017 JKU Rubicon because it has everything push button, which is very different than my trail rig, which is a YJ. So it's a completely different animal. So the other thing that we share is we're using different vehicles and we're showing the difference between, so like for my 2017 JKU, I have, push button lockers for on and off, push button sway bar disconnect, things like that. So we go through, when to turn on different things, how to turn them on and off. Because I'll be honest, I had never had a push button locker before. So that took me a little bit to figure out how to get the locker on and off and be able to just lock like the front end versus the back end, how to turn one off, have one on. I know I'm getting really technical here. Sorry about that. But yes, so there's everything in there. And we go over, like, as we start to talk about like the lockers, for example, we're going to show you the push button locker in the JKU. We're going to show you an air locker in a CJ, and we're going to show you the linkage locker in the YJ. So we have different vehicles with different setups in them, so we can show you the difference and how to use them. Me too, still trying to figure it out. Oh, yeah, I have to say, the new Jeeps, it is so amazing and so nice, all the technology that they've put in there for us to make things so much easier. But I'll tell you, if you're used to an older Jeep, like I'm used to a YJ, going to so much technology and all this push button, it's a little different to try to understand everything, and then it's like, why isn't it turning off? So there's different things. We're going to share all of that with you. So there's lots and lots and lots to come. So I'm so excited to share all that with you, ladies. And if you do have questions just like that, Amanda, feel free to post or to send us a private message and say, hey, I'm having an issue with this. I'd love some feedback. Or, hey, I'd love to see this training. Have you already put something together? So, we are very, very approachable. We're always there for you. We want your feedback. Brandy, I'm ready for a trip for beginners. Well, so that's another thing. We're putting our 2019 calendar together, ladies, and I will be announcing that here shortly. We're waiting to hear back from a couple off-road parks as far as event dates for 2019. And we're going to be setting up some in-person live LadyJeepers.com training weekends. So it will be training and trail riding where we can all come together, learn together, have a great time together. I have a couple professionals who will be there with us, who will be helping with some of the training, and they're going to break up into groups. So we're going to have professionals with us throughout the ride as well if we have any trouble, and to start learning and understanding like lines and different things like that. And we'll break into like a beginner and then more of an intermediate group, so that there'll be something for everybody. So I will put that up as soon as we hear back. It'll be a big announcement. Like I said, I'm just waiting to hear back from a couple parks, because we're trying to do something where we can do some events, not just here in Georgia, but some in the South. And then we're going to try to get out to the Midwest a little bit more, so that there'd be a couple of really good events that we would be able to go to. Do you lose power steering often after trail riding? So this is kind of a build question, but I will go ahead, Brandy, and answer that. So my question to you would be, do you have lockers? And are you using your lockers on your trail ride? And the next question, Brandy, would be, do you have a lift, and do you have bigger tires? What size tire are you running? I'm going to pause for a minute so I can see if you can reply, Brandy. That would be great. Or I guess while I'm waiting for you to reply, what I can say is a lot of times you start having power steering issues after you've been on, off-roading a weekend, especially if you have lockers and you're running your front locker locked majority of the time that you're on your trail ride, or if you have a larger tire and you have not upgraded your steering yet. That is something that's a little controversial when we start talking about builds. Like I said, this is kind of a build question, but when you start doing your build and you start putting aftermarket modifications on your Jeep is amazing. It's amazing stock. They come they're just so great right out the door. And that's what I love. No lift factory tires. Recommended tires. Okay. Do you have lockers, Brandy? Because normally if you start to have power steering issues, I'm going to say, so Jeep does have some weaknesses. And unfortunately, one of their weaknesses is their factory steering box that they have. That is something, as you start thinking about building and upgrading your Jeep, you do want to start thinking about how you can either add the aftermarket. They do aftermarket kits that you can add that are going to help to add added support to your factory steering box. I bet it's locking. I'm not unlocking. So anytime you have your front axle locked, and you go to turn, it is putting extreme pressure on your steering box. That's why we're talking about, as you're thinking about builds, upgrading your steering box, like adding Hydro Assist is a really good step. So that basically what you're doing is you're taking pressure off of the steering box. You're adding many issues with that. Okay. Because I was going to say lockers play a big part on putting extra stress on your factory steering box. They make upgrade kits that you can do for the factory steering box to kind of beef it up and make it stronger. My suggestion is going to be, if you're going to spend the money one time so you don't ever have to worry about it again, and think about upgrading to a hydraulic assist where you're going to get a aftermarket steering box. You're going to get the hydraulic pump. You're getting a whole new steering setup. But what that's going to do is it's going to allow you, when you are locked, is going to improve your steering tremendously, so you don't feel like you're fighting the steering wheel and the power steering when you have your lockers on, because there's assistance there. So you're going to have a softer steering wheel, much easier to steer when you have your lockers on. But what it's also going to do is, if you're going to be off-roading quite a bit, it's going to help to take that stress off of that factory steering box by putting the aftermarket on there, so that you don't have to worry. You're not having to worry that you're going to end up breaking parts. You're going to end up overheating your power steering. And there's so many different things that can happen. So I always recommend, I know, as we're talking builds, it seems like it can be never ending and it can be so costly, but I will say there are certain things that it's really worth putting the money into one time, and then you don't ever have to worry about it again. And I would say upgrading the steering is definitely something I would think about. We have the the Hydro Assist on our CJ. Absolutely love it. My YJ is no longer a street vehicle. It is strictly a trail rig only, and I have full Hydro Assist on that so that I can run my lockers. I mean, if I wanted to, I could run my lockers 24/7 for an entire ride, and I steer like I'm unlocked, and I have absolutely no problems. And on my JKU build, we are going to go with the Hydro Assist because it's my daily driver. But that is something to think about and look into. And as we're continuing down the road, as we start talking about different things in the build, I will be sharing with you some products that go with the different parts of the build that we share with you. And I want to let all the ladies know on here, we don't rep anybody. We're not sponsored by anybody. All of the products that we share on the ladyjeepers.com page, anything that we share with you guys is something that we have used and we believe in, and that is the only reason that we are sharing it with you. So we will never share a product with you just because of a kickback or just because of a sponsorship or anything like that. I want everyone to know that every time we're sharing products with you, it's because we use them, they work, they're tried and true for us, and we believe in them. So hopefully that'll help as you guys are kind of going along doing your build as well. So even if we have not shared training on something yet, please feel free, post a comment on the page or send us a message, and we will jump right on there and help you ladies out. So I'm going to jump off. I've kept you about 45 minutes tonight. So I want to thank you again, everybody, for being on here. I so appreciate it. All you ladies are so amazing. Thank you for being here at ladyjeepers.com with us. I'm just so excited, and I hope that I will see all you ladies again next Wednesday, 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next week, we are jumping into the winch. So we're just going to kind of keep going, adding with this training, this live training. The actual training videos that we're going to be getting out to you are more in depth. They're the actual training videos themselves. These are kind of live, Facebook live trainings. So we're going to add these in with all of the actual training videos that we're giving you so that hopefully you have lots of different avenues to learn the same thing. So these aren't quite as professional as the training videos, but I hope you get just as much out of it. Lori, oh, thank you. I'm glad you're here. Amber, thank you. Brandy, Angie, Wanda, Rita. Oh, you're from Georgia too. Hi, Rita. I'm here in Canton. I don't know where exactly you are from Georgia. But thank you guys for being here. And I'm going to put those links in there right away for you. And I can't wait to see you next Wednesday, 7:00. And between now and then, I'd love to see you post on the page, share anything that you would like to with us. And I'll see you next Wednesday. Have a great night, ladies. Thank you again for being here.